What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with another schedule preview and record prediction. And today we're going to be doing for the 2020 LSU Tigers. LSU, defending national champions, 15-0 last year. They were by far and away, in my opinion, the best team in college football last year. Offense was really explosive. Their defense, one of the best in the country. But now you have to look. They're losing so much. They're losing Joe Burrow, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Justin Jefferson, losing some guys on defense. You're getting Derek Stingley and Jamar Chase back. I don't think LSU is going to be as good this year as they were last year. Miles Brennan is probably going to be the quarterback this year. And LSU's got to fit in some more puzzle pieces. So let's go ahead and let's look and let's see if LSU is going to be able to make it back to the college football playoff, or if they, again, will be another SEC team on the outside looking in. All right, here's the schedule for the LSU Tigers. Pretty difficult schedule just because the SEC is going to be really competitive. Also, they have a good non-conference game. But I'll get onto those in a minute. Down there, as I talked about earlier, 2019 record was 15-0, national champions. And up there at the top for 2020, the home games are going to be in purple. The away games are going to be in yellow, and they have one neutral site game, and as always, that's going to be in black. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's take a deep dive into the Tigers schedule. First game, they get to play the University of Texas San Antonio, or UTSA for short. The Roadrunners, first game of the season. It's a home game. Should be a fairly easy one for LSU. It'll give them a nice opportunity to see, what works, what doesn't, who steps up, who's not as good as we think. It's going to be a good warm-up game for LSU, but they should have no problem with the Roadrunners. I'm picking the Tigers any day in this one. Then it's the non-conference game that everyone's talking about. They have to play Texas. So this game is going to be played in Tiger Stadium. Of course, LSU beat Texas last year. It was a fairly competitive game. LSU pulled away towards the end there. Of course, LSU is not going to be as good as they were last year. Everyone's hyping up Texas to see if Texas is going to be back. I'm leaning towards LSU in this game, A, because it's a home game, and B, I want to see what Texas does. I want to see how Texas performs in week one. And I think LSU just, again, has too much talent with Derek Stingley, the best cornerback in college football, and Jamar Chase at wide receiver. I'm leaning towards the Tigers in this one. I don't think they should have much of a problem with Texas because it is at home. Then they have a neutral site game. It's their neutral site game. It's against Rice, which I found a little odd as I was putting together the schedule. They have a neutral site game against Rice, which, I don't know, it's just kind of odd to me because Rice is not all that great of a football team. They haven't been for quite some time. This game is going to be played in NRG Stadium in Houston. I believe it's the Texans Stadium. LSU should have no problem with this one. Yes, it's neutral site, but as I just mentioned, Rice, not a very good football team. LSU should have no trouble with the Owls. Then they have a home game against Ole Miss. As I've talked about in my other SEC videos, Ole Miss is going to be coached by Lane Kiffin. Should be a really interesting team to watch. I don't know if Ole Miss is going to be that great next year, and if they are, it might take them some time. Ole Miss has got to figure some stuff out. Plumlee is coming back at quarterback for Ole Miss, but again, LSU got too much talent on both sides of the football. I think that they shouldn't have a whole lot of trouble here with Ole Miss. Then it's the FCS team that every SEC team plays. They're going to be playing Nicholls State, or Nicholls, whichever one you want to call it. Doesn't really matter. Y'all know what I'm going to say. LSU should have no trouble with this one. It's an FCS team up against one of the better FBS teams. LSU should steamroll Nicholls State. Then they have their first true road game of the season that comes in week 6. They're going to be playing the Florida Gators in the Swamp. This game last year, LSU won pretty handedly. It was close there for a while, but LSU pulled away toward the end. I think final score was 42-28, if I'm not mistaken. I'm leaning towards Florida this year. Talked about this in my Florida video. LSU, again, is not going to be as good as they were last year. I think this game could be very close. I think this game is going to be really competitive. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. Again, I'm leaning towards Florida in this one because it's in the Swamp. It's not at Tiger Stadium like it was last year. It's going to be an away game for LSU. And I think Florida's overall got more talent. I think the lines are going to play a key role in this game, like offensive and defensive lines. I think both teams have fairly good offensive lines, and both teams also have fairly good defensive lines. I just think that Florida's lines are a little bit better than LSU's lines. So I'm going to go ahead and lean towards the Gators early in this one, but it's going to be a very close game. Then they get another road game against Arkansas. Of course, Arkansas getting transfer quarterback Felipe Franks over from Florida. Talked about it in the Florida video. Arkansas, again, I think still going to be in the bottom half of the SEC. They could get better. It's not going to be the Arkansas we are used to seeing from about a decade ago. I don't think they're going to be that good. I don't see Arkansas being anything special. I don't think LSU will have a problem with the Razorbacks. I'll take the Tigers in this one. Then they get a home game against Mississippi State. Mississippi State's going to be coached by Mike Leach, the old Washington State head coach, one of the greatest personalities in all of college football. Mississippi State could surprise some people. Of course, they're going to have KJ Costello, the transfer quarterback from Stanford. But I think with the current state in the world and not having a lot of practice is really going to affect teams like Ole Miss and Mississippi State because they're getting new head coaches. They're not going to have a lot of time to get to know each other, it seems like. So, again, I don't think LSU should have a problem with Mississippi State. Mississippi State could be a fun team to watch next year. Too much talent for the Tigers, though. So LSU should have no problem with the Bulldogs. Then they get a bye week, and this is the perfect place for a bye week because the bye week comes the week before LSU's biggest game of the season, and it's against Alabama. So they get the Crimson Tide at home, which is a good thing for LSU. But with what Alabama's bringing back in Najee Harris, Devontae Smith, Mac Jones probably going to end up being the quarterback, in my opinion. Alabama's defense is going to be really, really good next year. I'm leaning towards the Tide in this one. I know it's a home game for LSU, but as I mentioned before, it's two quarterbacks that I think are going to be okay. Mac Jones could be fairly good. Miles Brennan could also be fairly good. I don't think any of those quarterbacks are going to be elite, just from how I've seen them play in the past, but I could be wrong. One of them could have a breakout year. It's definitely going to come to quarterback play because both teams have really good wide receivers. Both teams have a really good defense. It's going to come down to the quarterback play. And to me, Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Miles Brennan. So although it's a home game for the Tigers, I'm going to lean towards the Crimson Tide in this one. Then they get a home game against South Carolina. South Carolina's a team that surprised Georgia last year. I think they went something like 4-8 or 5-7, but they had a really tough schedule last year. So South Carolina could be better than what the record shows last year. I think they are better than what their record shows last year. Could surprise some teams. I don't see them surprising LSU in this one. I believe South Carolina is also breaking in a new quarterback. I don't know if Helinski is going to start again. So the Gamecocks could surprise some people next year. I have them as a team that, you should watch out for because they're going to be no joke. But LSU, again, said it so many times, has too much talent. Derek Stingley has some of the best ball skills out of any cornerback in the entire nation. I don't see the Tigers having a problem with the Gamecocks. I'll take LSU. Then LSU gets to finish off the season with two road games. The first going to come to the Auburn Tigers. Auburn's a team that I'm really high on this year, and I think Auburn could be really, really, really good. I think Auburn could be really good. I also think LSU is going to still be really good. I have LSU winning this one in a very close game. I think it's definitely going to come down to the defense. Both offenses are really good. Of course, Auburn returning Bo Nix. I think he's going to have a breakout season. Their running back, Jatarvius Whitlow. Seth Williams is coming back, the young wide receiver. So both offenses are fairly good. I think it's going to be defense that comes down. I think it's going to come down to the defense in this game, LSU, in my opinion, just has a better defense with Derek Stingley. And with Auburn losing Derek Brown, the rest of the defensive line is coming back, but I think Derek Brown's going to be a big loss. Overall, I think LSU's defense is a little bit better than Auburn's, and the big factor there, as I said earlier, is Derek Stingley. So I'm going to take the Tigers, the LSU Tigers, in this game in a very, very close one. I would not be surprised if Auburn ends up winning this one. Then you have a road game against Texas A&M. So Texas A&M's the team that I feel like everyone hopes to be good next year, and everyone thinks they're going to be really good next year. Jimbo Fisher, the head coach. Kellen Mond is going to stay there at quarterback. He's got weapons around. The defense is supposed to be pretty good too. I also think this game is going to be close. A couple years ago, the 7 overtime game. What a game that was. It was in Aggie Stadium. We'll be back in Aggie Stadium this year. I think this game, like the Auburn game, is going to be very close. But I'm leaning towards LSU again because I think LSU has more weapons than Texas A&M. There's not a guy that really stands out to me on Texas A&M as being that playmaker that you can go to. Well, LSU has one on both sides of the ball. They have Jamar Chase, wide receiver on the offense, and then they have Derek Stingley, the cornerback on defense. So I'm leaning towards the Tigers in this one. Again, would not be surprised if Texas A&M won or even made it close. So I have LSU winning that game right now. Now, with everything said and considered, I have the Tigers going 10-2. And those 2 losses to me are to Florida and to Alabama. Now, I almost put the Tigers at 9-3 because of how they finished the season, but I think LSU is going to be more talented than a lot of people think. I think 10-2 is a fairly good spot for LSU to be in. I think it's a good prediction for the Tigers. I don't see them doing any better than 10-2, again, because they have to play 3 really tough games on the road. Lucky that they get Alabama at home, but to me, they lose that game. So my prediction for the Tigers is 10-2. So now let's move on to our record range. What this is, I take this team's worst case scenario with the team's best case scenario. Worst case scenario I have for the Tigers is 8-4. And to me, those 4 losses are 3 of them to Florida, Alabama, and Auburn, and then the 4th to either Texas or Texas A&M. I think more likely Texas A&M than Texas, just because it's on the road. So 8-4 worst case scenario for LSU. Again, if losing everyone is such a big factor, if the lack of practice really, really hurts LSU and Derek Stingley, I think Derek Stingley's still going to be really good even with the lack of practice. But if the rest of the defense can't step up around him, if Jamar Chase is the only weapon they have, I still think LSU has playmakers to be really good. But 8-4 to me is their worst case scenario because the SEC is going to be so competitive, and if LSU just never gels, then they're not going to be all that great. So 8-4 my worst case scenario. Best case scenario, 11-1. I see LSU losing a game somewhere. I don't see any scenario where they win every single game on the schedule, just because of the games they have to play on the road. When you look at it, of course they play Rice in the neutral site, but it's not really a true road game, and it's against a not very good football team. But then when you look at the road games, they have to play Florida on the road, Arkansas, which could surprise some people on the road, and then Auburn, Texas A&M on the road. Of course, you also have to play Alabama and Texas. So I see LSU losing a game somewhere. But again, if LSU is so much better than we all think, they could make another run at the college football playoff and another national title. But I don't see LSU going undefeated because, to me, they're losing too much. And the SEC, as I've said in all my other SEC prediction videos, it's going to be so competitive this year. So my best case scenario for LSU is 11-1, but my personal prediction for the 2020 season for the Tigers is 10-2. All right, so that's going to do it for my schedule preview and record prediction for the LSU Tigers. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like. Also consider subscribing if you're brand new to the channel or just enjoy the content that I put out. Also, if you haven't done so already, please leave a comment down below. I love to read your guys' thoughts and opinions. I truly do read through every single one of them. You guys have been amazing so far. I think this is a great community we have going on. I can't thank you guys enough. You guys help me out a lot, so thank you guys. And until next time, play hard but tailgate harder. I'll see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.